My name is Pratt, or Jojo Pratt. I'm from Ghana and I came to Finland in 2009, somewhere close to the end of 2009. On the first 10 years of my life, I lived in the village where it was like, nothing. And even in the village in that time, I try to remember sometimes like my childhood, I only remember me having one pant, like shorts, right? Because in the village, what they did was like, they didn't buy you clothes of your size. They buy you clothes ahead of you so that you can grow into them, right? So literally the first 10 years, I literally had one pant that I was supposed to grow into it. So, my father and my mother, they have never been together. So I'm like the only child, right? And my mother had married another man in the village. So I lived with my mother and this guy. So later on in my life, I understood that this guy was looking for a male child. As you know, in Ghana, male childs are very important to keep the family name going. So this guy, when he met my mom and my mom had me and I was a male child, he was thinking like, okay, maybe with my mom can give him male kids. And funny enough, the next two kids that came after me were girls. So at some point there was, so the guy was like, I didn't know this, like when I was a kid, I only found out as an adult when we had this conversation. So the guy was just telling my mom that, if you cannot give me like a male child, then I also cannot take care of someone else's male child. So then my mom didn't have another option. She had to figure out what to do. And what she did for me was the best thing that could have happened. All this time, I didn't even know of the existence of my father and my father's family. But obviously my mom knew, right? But she just didn't have any good relationship with them. So eventually she figured out like, okay, she just has to send me back to my father's family, and then whatever they will do with me, they will do it. So my mom decided to send me to my father's family. So here I am as a kid, first 10 years in a village. I never seen what is electricity. I've never seen a fridge. I have never, even a car. We only had one car that came sometimes to the village and went to the capital city. So all of a sudden I am in the capital city living with my father's family, who were really doing well, right? So I came from nothing to all of a sudden to a family that had too much of everything, So I think that is also part of the reason why, in a way, I never felt like belonging, because imagine you're a village kid with one short, and then all of a sudden I'm in a family where I have thousands of clothes, shoes, food, TVs in every room, and it was I must have been confused, because you're a kid, so you don't even know how to process this type of thing. It is possible that, if you go deep into my psychology, I was probably never felt like I belonged, because even my uncle took care of me, because my father was obviously not happy about this arrangement that all of a sudden my mother just brought me out of nowhere and he's supposed to, take care of me. And my father was, unfortunately, he has been a ship captain all his life. So when he came back to Ghana, he was like an alcoholic, right? So he drank a lot and smoked a lot, so he would get really physical with me, right? So my uncle decided to take care of me. And my father's family, they've my grandmother, my uncle, my aunties, they have always welcomed me and took really good care of me. I went to good schools. I went to Adisado College in Ghana, it's not something village kids don't go to Adisado College, but my father's family, my uncle and stuff, they took really good care of me. So my life back in Ghana, it was I had the village experience, but before I came to Europe, I had a very good life, because now I was living with my father's family and they took great care of me. I had no problems. Even till today, if I would need something and I would call my uncle, they will make sure that I still get everything that I need. So yeah, I didn't have any reason to leave Ghana to come to Europe. Actually, to be honest, I had way better life in Ghana than I had when I came to Europe. You know, I lived in a very nice house and everything. And then when I came to Europe, I had to live in a refugee camp. You know what I mean? But I'm thinking like maybe, you know, when you're a child and some like another man rejects you because you are not their child, and your own father also rejects you because he just was not like, you just show up here like, what should he do with you? I think somehow you feel like, you know, you are not worth it and you are not good enough or whatever, right? And now I have my uncle, like the best human being that I ever know, right? He's doing his best. He's taking care of me as his own kid. Everything he did for his children, he did for me. Like when he would give us, like every week, he would give us like money for the week. We would all be on the same table. Like he treated me like as a child. But I'm thinking maybe because I was rejected so much, my brain didn't, I'm not sure, like I said, I haven't really dug into the psychology, but this is just a theory that I have. So it could be like, I never felt like I belong there. So where do I belong? I belong out there somewhere, possibly in the street. Because even when I came to Finland, I didn't know that I could live in a refugee camp. My mind was like, I will go, even if I have to live in the street, it's not gonna be as bad as the village. Because in the village, like what? You know, like Europe is Europe. Whatever it is, it's still better than the village. That's how I looked at it. But then when I came, obviously, Finland is such a great country that they had like, you know, systems like the refugee camp so that you don't really have to be on the street. But I'm thinking maybe partly because of the reason why I left Ghana, it could be that I just never felt like worthy or good enough. So I needed like, for example, I needed to go to the best university to feel that I'm, you know, like important. And when I couldn't get those things, and then I had to go to like a low-class university in the upper part of Ghana, which is not like capital city, I felt like, okay, this is gonna hurt my self-image. It's possible. That's why I'm like, okay, worst case scenario, I'm gonna go to Europe, because at least in Europe, if I live in Europe, everybody will respect me because I live in Europe. And if I manage to go to university in Europe, then that will, you know, kind of like elevate my self-worth, you know. So that is what I think, because bro, like I really had a great life in Ghana. I was driving cars and stuff, like I was okay. But personally, I wanted to go to like one of the well-known universities in Ghana, which is like Legon or KNUST. And I didn't get into any of those. So the next one that I was supposed to go to is like UDS, which is like in the northern part of Ghana. So somehow that was not like a really respected university, you know, and you know, I didn't really understand at that time, maybe a little bit ego issue and stuff. So I decided to leave and go to Europe, you know. So what I did was like, you know, I was supposed to go to UDS and I didn't want to go there, but I couldn't tell my family that I'm gonna escape to Europe. So literally, I was supposed to take the bus from the bus station and go to the northern part of Ghana, but I didn't take the bus. I went to the airport and I left the country. So when I left the country, I couldn't tell my family because obviously I'm running away. And when I left the first 4 months, I would always like text them, you know, like, how are you doing, da, da, da. But when it was like 4 months and the school was going on vacation, now I was supposed to go home, but I couldn't go home. So, you know, mind you, I was still young in that time, so I just kind of like switched off my phone. So for a while, my family thought like something happened to me, like, you know, I was kidnapped or whatever, right? Because I couldn't go home. So they started to make like, how do you call it? Like reporting on TV that Jojo is missing. They are trying to find, they don't know my whereabouts. So it was getting like really serious and it was coming on, you know, TV and stuff like that. And one of my friends, he lived in France at the time. And so he saw on Ghana Web that I was missing. So then I was like, okay, now it's time to call home that I'm safe. So I called home that I was safe. And, you know, afterwards, you know, they were okay because at least now they know that I am safe and I'm sound and I'm in Europe. But what happened was, because I didn't know anybody, I came to Finland at the time, right? And even though I came to Finland, I didn't know anybody, I didn't have a job, I didn't have anything. So I had to kind of like figure out how to survive, right? So then I went to the refugee camp to seek asylum, and then I got a place to stay. So I think the first 1 year in Finland, I lived in the refugee camp. So that was where I started to, like learn the language, and then also I studied to try to get into university, because one of the things that was always on my mind was that, my uncle who took care of me has always been like my father. And education was always very important to him, so he made sure that even I couldn't go to the universities that I wanted, he still made sure that I had admission to a university, and he paid the fees and accommodation and everything. But because I was really stubborn as a kid, so then I left. But even when I was living in the refugee camp, I knew that regardless of whatever happens, I need to get an education. So I started to study, and then I got into the university, and now I have a degree and a profession. But so that was like my story before I came to Finland. Fitness for me is a very interesting part, like I think I've always like admired people with good physiques and stuff like that. But for me, fitness or working out was not like, it wasn't anything important. It's not something that I always done, but so I had a very challenging moment in my life where I think I was a little bit like, how do you say, like lost, for lack of a better term. I was a little bit lost, and I could also probably say that I was a little bit depressed at the time, So, from Ghana, where I'm from, we don't really share emotions like that, And even if you feel like that, you don't even look for help or anything, So for me, I was kind of like dealing with my things in the darkness, but I was mostly just like drinking alcohol, right? So I would drink alcohol, I smoked a little bit marijuana here and there, but it was not helping my situation, And the problem with the issue that I had was like everything was going downhill, self-confidence, like I wasn't feeling good at all, right? So I was still trying to figure out what to do. But I knew that, okay, I cannot even go to therapy or whatever, because, like our culture has a lot of stigmatization towards those type of things. So I'm lonely, but I'm like still trying to, drink alcohol and have fun. But then when I come back home, then I'm like back in my shell. So this was going like back and forth for like 2 years, right? And I'm going downhill with money, with finances and everything. So it got to a point, like for me, it was like really bad, right? So then I was like, okay, I cannot be in Finland anymore, like how I'm feeling. So I'm gonna just go away somewhere. But I couldn't also go back to Ghana, because at this point, I've already had like, traveling around the world, living lavishly, doing all this type of things. So, and because of Instagram, I was like sharing all these things. So now going back to Ghana in that state that I was, it's like I'm a failure, right? So I figured out, okay, I cannot even go back to Ghana. So what do? I decided I'm going to like leave the world, and then I'm going to go and become a monk, So I went to the monastery. But when I went to the monastery, so I was learning from the monks, because I knew that at least they know something because of meditation and those type of things. I think like maybe they will be able to help me, or at least when I live in the monastery, nobody will even know where I am. So I would just be there, right? So now I am there in the monastery. They are, you are learning, they are teaching you about, like a healthy mind is a healthy body, and they are teaching you about, physical exercises and all those type of things. So now I'm learning, right? So up until then, I didn't care about nutrition. I just ate what I wanted to eat. I drank if I felt like it, and I didn't understand anything. So now I'm in the monastery. They are teaching me about the mind. They are teaching me about nutrition. They are teaching me about health. They are teaching me about mindset. They are teaching me about perspectives, like even sometimes when they would ask like, what is my, situation? Why do I think like my world is over, that I need to leave Europe? And when I would say some of the things that I thought were a problem, they would use different perspective or different stories to explain my situation, right? So I think after a while, I realized that, wait, I just misunderstood the situation, right? And I had literally forgotten where I came from. So the first 10 years of my life, I grew up in a village, right, in Ghana. And in the village in Ghana, you have nothing, but you're always happy. And there's like activity. Everything that you eat is like organic. You either grew it or it's like you get it from a farmer and stuff like that. So literally, the first 10 years of my life, I grew up in a village where I had literally nothing, but I was happy. But fast forward, now I had everything and I was just not content. So, but in the monastery, I learned that with the right perspective and with the right mindset, combining with eating healthy, sleeping properly, meditating, reading, and exercising, I felt like a different person. Like the things that I had in Europe that I thought like my life is over, they just disappeared and I was still the same person, So after a while I was like, okay, hold on. What am I doing here in this monastery? Because I just exist here. I sleep, I wake up, I eat, I meditate, I read, I go for walks, and then sometimes we wake up. So I was like, okay, if I could go back to Europe and still just keep the same lifestyle, maybe, I can manage. So then I came back to Europe. But now when I came back to Europe, I was a different person because now I was conscious about my nutrition, I was conscious about my sleep, I was conscious about my exercise, and I was conscious about my reading. So I had like routine that I followed that kind of like transformed me from somebody who was like not really exercise or fitness focused to a very fitness focused exercise person. So initially I was just doing this thing by myself because those were the things that made me feel good, right? But I started to teach my friends, help them like, okay, this is how you train, this is what you eat, da 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 da. So when I started to help my friend, it just became like the business, right? And when I was naming my business, the only reason why I named it Get Fit for Sure, like how can I be sure? I am sure because I've been through this. Like I felt the worst that I could feel, but through fitness, I was able to now become this happy, energetic, motivated, inspired, and excited person. So that is how now, out of that became my business, which I'm now pursuing now as a fitness entrepreneur. And that's why my brand is called Get Fit for Sure. Because I knew that if this has worked for me, it will work for every other people. So that's like how I got into fitness. Get Fit for Sure as a business is like, I have, it's like 4 main dimensions, right? So that is like physical, spiritual, mental, and social, right? So these are like the 4 aspects. The merchandise is just another part of it. So what I do is like, mostly I'm selling like workout program, but workout programs, they only take care of the physical side. Then I have the coaching and motivational side where we go through like mindset and stuff like that. And then we go to like, what are the things that you are doing to build yourself spiritually? Because you don't want to be physically fit, but spiritually or mentally, you are not there, right? So the merch is just to support like, the thing with me is like, if I go to the gym, right? And I'm nicely dressed in a nice outfit, even when I look myself in the mirror, I feel good. That boosts my confidence and it also helps my workout, right? So that's like what the merch stands for. But the merch mostly, obviously, because it's like a merch, some of the products come from China and some of the products are coming from Finland and all over. Ghana at the moment, I don't really produce anything there, but because Ghana is my home, I always try to visit Ghana and try to also like inspire the people to live a healthy life. Like Ghana, I think like fitness is changing a little bit, so now people are really understanding that working out and like physical activity is beneficial, but it's still not so huge like on a big scale. So every now and then I try to go to Ghana to organize like some fitness events just to create awareness about the benefit of fitness and exercise as a whole. That's what I do in Ghana. But the merch mostly, obviously it's like online so people can purchase from wherever, and we obviously like ship worldwide. But what I also try to focus more on is like dealing with people's mindset to help them with the mental aspect, because for me personally, when I got into fitness, it had nothing to even do with physical. I didn't really care about how I looked. Did I look like jacked or with six pack? I was more interested about how I was feeling mentally and emotionally. And the things that really helped me were like focusing on the right mindset and mixing with nutrition and understanding like sleep and rest and stuff like that. So that is also a very big part of the Get Fit for sure. So I kind of like have this community where like I send motivational messages here and there, and then also like we support each other in the journey in fitness, because like fitness is not really, if you don't have like discipline, doing it alone is very difficult. So we try to build a community where we can understand and support each other. So Get Fit for sure is like the umbrella brand, but under that we have like the merch, then we have like the mental aspect, and then the workout program to take care of the physical aspect. So that's what Get Fit for sure is about. I think I've been really, really lucky to have had my rock bottom, and out of the rock bottom, I didn't only come out like good, I also came out with a business, right? And for me, like in life, like growing up in the village, one thing that you learn is helping people, because sometimes you realize like you don't have everything you need. Even sometimes if you live in the village, to make soup, you need to get salt from your neighbor. To make fire, sometimes you have charcoal, but you don't even have like a match. So your neighbor gives you a match, one neighbor gives you salt, and then when you make the soup, you give a little bit back to the people who help you to be able to make the soup, right? So helping people, like for me, has always been like the ultimate goal. Actually, this is like even a very interesting aspect, because when I became a nurse, my main focus was to help people. But as a nurse, you can pretty much help like sick people. But in Ghana, we have a saying that prevention is better than cure. So I think like when I became a fitness, like expert, now I can help people either to prevent through my fitness, or even if let's say they become sick, as a nurse, I'm still there on the other end to help people. So for me, it has always been about helping people. It happened by accident that I found a brand and a business which actually has everything to do with what I like and what I would do even if I didn't get paid. But now understanding how much I can help people, either by teaching them about the importance of fitness, exercising, relaxation, recreation, reading, building your mindset and your mentality, I want to be able to do it now on a bigger scale. And that's why I actually started like a YouTube channel where now and then I teach people about, like how they can, do basic exercises, even if they don't go to the gym, what they can do from home, or even if they don't have access to any training equipment, what they can do with their physical body, and simple exercises that they can do wherever they are, So hopefully my goal is to bring the brand to a level where there's like brand awareness, and through that I can teach people about the benefit of exercising. To be honest, like in Ghana, I went to the gym a few times. Like I said, when I was a kid, I was still even fascinated when I saw like people with nice physique. So I've always been drawn to that, but I just didn't understand like what benefits this had except from physical body, right? So in nursing school, actually, right, we had a class on mental health, and my class was a very I was in an international class, right? Like our lessons were in English. And when we had the mental health lessons, I remember the teacher mentioned something in the class about mental health and mental illness in Africa. So in my class, there was like people from different African backgrounds. And I remember we all like attacked the teacher, like, no, it's not possible. Like in Africa, there's no depression, there's no mental health. Like that was our response, right? But obviously because we haven't heard people talk openly about these things, right? Now, fast forward, if you would ask me or any of my classmates at the time, because now we have lived here long enough, we understand what it is, and we can almost like identify even people close to us that might have like depression or mental health issue. But because we were coming from Africa freshly at that time, we didn't understand, like even in Africa there is. So we were all like, no, we don't have this in Africa. Now, fast forward, personally, the first time that I felt like, I was depressed or something or anything, like this was somewhere, let's say around 2000 so between 2016, 18 wars, that was like the worst for me, right? By 2018, I had already started to make like a little bit of improvement, So it was after that I was in Finland that I got depressed, and I couldn't still talk about it openly because, mind you, I'm still Ghanaian. The culture is still inside of me. So even though like now after I graduated from the nursing school like in 2014, 2015, like January. So now I understood what it is. I just didn't understand that it could happen to me, right? Because I still thought like that was something that happens to people, like not me. So when it happened to me initially, I did not understand it. So I would be thinking like, why is this happening to me? Like, why am I feeling this way? But I still didn't understand it completely. But that's why I left Finland also, because now I didn't feel like, I just thought like, this is it for me, like life is over. Luckily, I went to a place where I got help, but the help that I got was nothing to do with medication, right? Luckily for me. And so like now, if you ask me, I would think like the whole time my life was supposed to happen in this series, right? Because now look at where I am. I always say to my people or my friends or anybody I talk to that, listen, if you are not happy about where you are now, then you can be upset about everything else that led you there. But me, personally, where I am right now, I am very, very happy. And if everything that precedes this didn't happen, I probably wouldn't have been here, So I like, even when I was going through my, rock bottom or dark phases, I was really, really sad, right? But if you ask me now, do I wish that it happened or it didn't happen? I would tell you, of course, right? Like, I'm happy that that happened, because I wouldn't be here where I am now if that didn't happen. And all the things that I know now, that like how even I can help people, is like, I probably wouldn't be here without that. So I like, looking back, like Steve Jobs says, like sometimes you can only connect the dots looking back, but when you're looking forward, it's like vague, right? So somehow you have to trust in the universe, that the universe has plans for you, and your job is to keep moving forward. Like now, I am more conscious about certain decisions that I make, because I know that maybe like I don't want to have the same lesson like twice, because it wasn't like a really fun thing. It was really terrible, and anything could have happened. Luckily for me, it led me to a positive end goal, right? But after that, when I learned that, okay, fitness, nutrition, exercise, rest, and recreation have really, really important, role to play in how you feel, how much energy you have, and all that, I just went all in for it. So now I'm all about fitness, I'm all about reading, I'm all about exercising, I'm all about keeping good social relationships, either with your girlfriend or your family or your friends. I'm more conscious and aware about those things. But these are all things that I learned after my experience. So like, let's say if I ever write a book, the title would be Rock Bottom, the Ultimate Starting Point. Because for me now, it feels like that is where everything started. So on Instagram and across platforms, my name is Pratt. So at Pratt, you can find me on Instagram or on YouTube. But also, if you type like Get Fit for Sure, so Get Fit number 4 and then Sure, if you type that in Google, I think like a lot of things related to me will come up. Yeah, so Instagram at Pratt, Facebook, TikTok at Pratt, or at getfitforsure_. You'll find me there. And on YouTube, obviously.